Hey everybody, Mike McElroy here with Coast Realty coming at you from a slightly different setting today. I am in my COVID bunker instead of the Center Coast Realty HQ. Quite a bit has changed since our February market update came out just 1 week ago. Normally, for the past few years, we've given you an update on the Chicago real estate market every month when the previous month's numbers come out. And it has become very apparent, even just watching that video from a week ago, that every month isn't going to be good enough for how quickly this situation is developing. We've gotten a lot of questions from our clients on how the current situation with the coronavirus or COVID-19 pandemic is affecting the Chicago real estate market. So rather than wait for the nice, pretty graphs to come out with our analytics software every single month, we've been pulling the raw numbers and calculating supply and demand on basically a daily basis to see how the news and actions taken by the government is affecting the Chicago real estate market. So no animations or fancy editing this time, a little bit more pressure on me. So we're gonna dive into it here, and I understand that you guys, there's a lot of concern out there. You don't need one more realtor telling you that now is a great time to buy or sell. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna give you the information as we're getting it. We're going to digest it for you a little bit, and we're going to help you make your own decisions. We're just going to give you the facts. So with that being said, let's jump into it. Like I said, we're pulling raw numbers right now. I want to start by looking at demand. Is there still going to be demand for real estate based on a lot of the changes that have been happening? Mondays are always a big day for contracts. So buyers see homes over the weekend. They put in offers, and those offers tend to get negotiated and accepted over the weekend. And a lot of times on Monday, that property gets marked under contract on the MLS. So Mondays are always a big day. We see a big spike in contracts every single Monday. So what we did was we looked at the number of contracts in Chicago for the past 4 Mondays, going back to February 24th, which was week 9. The last time things were going back that far, I feel like things were pretty normal back then, all the way up each week until this past Monday, when things certainly were not normal. So in week 9, there were 169 contracts on Monday. That jumped up to 263 by the following week. 237 last week, so a slight decrease. And then this past Monday, 174. So here's the upshot of that. Between week 11 and week 12 of 2019, we saw contracts increase by 16.5%. This year, based on those numbers I just gave you, they're down 26.6%. Now, it's not uncommon to see these numbers swing by double digits each week. From week to week throughout the year, they vary based on how that lines up with the calendar. It varies on the weather. It varies based on holidays. So it's not crazy. All that is to say, the decrease was down when it probably should have been up this time of year, but it didn't fall off a cliff. So let's come back to that. The next thing I want to talk about is supply, aka new listings. So new listings are steadier throughout the week, but Mondays and Thursdays are generally the highest. So we're going to look at Mondays again. Again, back in week 9, February 24th, there were 359 new listings on Monday. The following week, 458, then 431. This past Monday, 346. So once again, we've seen not only a decrease in demand, but also a decrease in supply. People are not putting their homes on the market, potentially due to fears about the coronavirus pandemic that's been spreading. So what that tells me is demand decreased, but supply decreased as well. So fortunately, those things are kind of moving in tandem a little bit. The next metric we have to talk about, I just touched my face. Don't tell anybody. The next metric we have to talk about is supply. So a friend of mine works for a large company that monitors and sets up showings for a lot of realtors around the country. They handle these requests digitally so they can get pretty good real-time data and insight into the demand for showings on listings, which actually precedes contracts. So this is looking even further ahead than contracts are. So showings definitely slowed down last week. They decreased compared to the 2 or 3 weeks prior to that. But again, they didn't fall off a cliff. They decreased to a level that was similar to what we typically see in mid-January or some weeks in February. So definitely a decrease in showings, but not falling off of a cliff. That's what the numbers are telling you. I'll tell you a little bit about our experience because it's been pretty interesting over the past week. So we've received offers on 60% of our listings within 5 days of the travel ban announcement last Wednesday. So just a week ago, at that evening, the travel ban was declared. We got an offer Thursday, and then we got 2 more offers on Monday night. One of those offers was for a listing that wasn't even on the market. It was just privately listed on an agent-to-agent network. And the other 2 offers were for listings that had been on the market for a while. They were on the market back when the world was normal. So what we're seeing is that buyers are still making offers, at least so far, and sellers are still putting homes on the market. So the bottom line is this: both supply and demand seem to have decreased, but the sky isn't falling yet. Of course, everything changes every single day, and all this could change for better or for worse, which is why we're going to keep monitoring these numbers every day when they come out, and we'll keep you updated. Let's talk about a couple of other things. I do want to be honest with buyers and sellers about the threats that are out there right now. So buyers and sellers seem to have gotten through and survived the initial shock of all of these changes. But we don't know what some of the long-term implications are, and layoffs could affect the long term if companies start to lay off a lot of their staff. So I've already seen travel and hospitality get hit really hard. And just quick sidebar: order takeout, folks, buy gift cards, and please, there's a number of, we'll post actually in this blog post and below, there's a number of GoFundMes for the staff at these restaurants. So find a restaurant you do frequent and leave a tip, even though you weren't there. All right, anyway, travel and hospitality hit pretty hard. I don't know how much that's going to affect the downtown and city center Chicago real estate market just yet, but remember, we've got Boeing, we've got United, we've got Discover, all locally here in Chicago. If they aren't able to weather this storm very well, those layoffs could have an impact on real estate in the long term. We also have McDonald's, which is very recession resistant, even though their restaurants are closed at the moment. We have Google, which took a hit in the last recession, but bounced back quickly and frankly has a lot of money, and the internet's killing it right now because everyone's watching the internet. So they are relying on advertiser revenue, but there are companies that are doing well in this new market, and we expect that companies like Google will be able to capitalize on that. The good news about the economy, again, is Chicago's economy is very diverse, including a lot of government jobs, for better or for worse, at the moment. In the current state of things, that's probably good. I expect the government, there will be plenty of government work over the next few months, both locally and at the federal level. Okay, so that's demand and jobs, which real estate is closely tied to. Another one is this: if there is some kind of shelter in place order that goes out similar to San Francisco, that's going to impact showings. We're not sure how that would play out or what the rules would be here in Chicago. That could impact showings. Fortunately, we can do virtual showings. So FaceTime, Google Hangouts, Zoom, all of these things have made it really easy to, we can put it on autopilot and show you around the home. And then you can grab the controls and say, hey, zoom in on this, zoom in on that. I want to see this again. You can get a pretty good sense of a space through video. We're also implementing Matterport rendering. So those are those cool things where you can do a virtual walkthrough, or you could do like a Google Street View of a property. We're starting to implement those on all of our listings. We expect other realtors will too. So that's a way that you can see homes. Another way a shelter-in-place order, or even just general fears about the spread of COVID, could impact real estate is title and mortgage companies. So my contacts in the title world, in the lending world, assure me that they're set up for an off-site adaptation, that they'll be able to continue providing services even if they can't go into work. So that seems to be a concern that is mitigated at this point, but we can put all the buyers and sellers can buy and sell all the homes they want, but if we can't close them because mortgage and title aren't working, that would be problematic. But again, my contacts in that world are saying that they've got plans in place to work remotely if necessary. So if you're trying to sell right now, the good news is supply seems to be tapering off at about the same rate as demand. Buyers are still making offers, and they're actually making good offers. We had kind of a joke around the office last week that became less funny, which was, could you see yourself being quarantined in this home? It was a joke, and then we had some buyers who literally said, I don't want to be stuck in my current place if we have to hunker down for an extended period of time. Get me into this home. So buyers are still buying. If you're on the market right now, don't throw in the towel just yet. All parties seem to be trying to make deals work. That said, luxury, I think, is going to take a hit temporarily as people see their portfolios drop. They're not going to want to liquidate right now. So that could be problematic for some luxury properties that are on the market or even that are under contract right now, unfortunately. If you own real estate right now, but you're not trying to sell, you probably have some anxiety as well. Hang in there. Real estate is very hardy during recessions. The last recession was caused by real estate. Real estate was the bug. It was an internal thing, and that's why it was so bad and took so long to recover. But if you look at something a little bit more comparable, back like 9/11, is something a little bit more comparable to what we're experiencing right now. Real estate actually kind of kept going up during that time period. So while there may be some temporary disruptions and some temporary drops in prices, maybe, I think if you're in this for the long haul, you should be good. So don't panic if you own real estate. If you're trying to buy right now, it seems like options are decreasing a little bit, but fortunately they're not completely drying up. I think we'll know more in literally 2 days when we see what the new listings look like for Thursday, which is actually the biggest day of the week for new listings. Rates are still insanely cheap, so there's potentially some good deals out there right now. Realtors always say it's a great time to buy a home, and here's why. Every month that you own a home, you save money, you put money towards principal, you take advantage of some tax benefits potentially, and over the long term, owning a home is much better than renting. It's just very expensive to buy and sell. So a better way of saying this is, if you plan to own this home for a certain period of time, it's a great time to buy. So a couple of years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago, we were telling buyers, honestly, the way things have been going, if you own this place for 2 or 3 years, you're going to come out ahead of renting. As of a couple of weeks ago, we were still saying, hey, if you're going to own this place for 4 to 5, maybe 6 years, you're still going to come out ahead of renting. Right now, I'm revising that to, if you're going to own this place for 4 to 8 years, you're going to come out ahead of renting. So that's a bigger range, obviously, and that's due to the uncertainty. So based on your tolerance for risk, you can say, hey, I'm not risk averse at all. I'm very confident that even if I need to own this place for 4, 5, or 6 years, it's going to be okay. Or I don't like risk. I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to own this place for 8 years before I choose to buy a home right now. And remember, you need to own the home that long. You don't need to live there. You can always rent it out. Make sure you buy a place that you have the option to rent it out in the case of hardship, or if you just need to move and aren't in a great position to sell in the next couple of years. All right, so that's been the market. Really quickly, I just want to touch on what we're doing, some of the changes in the way real estate is bought and sold in the market right now. So for all of our home buyers, we are requesting that listing agents provide lockbox showings for us. So in other words, not meeting a listing agent at the property. Fortunately, Center Coast is run by some of the world's leading germaphobes. So we've had hand sanitizer in our cars for years. That is still in place. However, we are and will be bringing that in on showings. We're requesting that buyers ride separately from showing to showing in order to maintain social distancing. And that any buyers who are exhibiting any symptoms, if you got a cough or a cold, stay home. We can do virtual showings for now. If you've been in contact with anyone else who may be sick, again, stay home for now. We can do virtual showings and maybe a second showing in person once you're feeling better. For home sellers, know that we are screening all of our showings to make sure that they are serious and that they're not potentially going to put your family's health at risk. And we've confirmed with the National Association of Realtors that is okay to ask. We will be asking every showing for that information. All of our showings are going to be, again, on lockbox. The only exception to that is if the buyer's agent isn't feeling well, can't do the showing on lockbox, then we'll have an agent meet the buyers over at the property. All attendees on this showing should immediately wash their hands before and after touring your home. We have a sign that we'll print out, put on the front door, and then we have the CDC's recommended hand washing technique that we'll print out, or you can print out as well, and post near a sink or a bottle of hand sanitizer. And again, if you're not feeling well, we can absolutely update the status of your property to temporarily no showings. That way it's still on the market, it's still getting looked at. We're just not showing it right now. All right, so that's a lot of information. Again, read the blog post and we can break this down in even more detail. These are uncertain times with a lot of anxiety. Information is key. I feel that most people feel a lot better once they've become informed. So we're working hard to help you navigate this uncertain real estate market. We know we're all going to emerge stronger as a result of this, so hang in there. We'll check in again soon.